he just did not disappeared, but went into the bathroom. So he started this organization. So it's doing this. I went away because it got so freaking cold here at Christmas time. I went south, right? And I have a car that can't even go 2 miles, but I lit enough candles and put the incense going, and we went to a warm place, right? And I had no money, but I bumped into enough people who said, well, you have a skill set, sure. And I said, this is what I want, and I did that, and I can always do that. And so, anyway, I came back, and he's gone. Now, when I was traveling around, disrupted my rhythm of my homeostasis, so my body was doing this, right? So I went to the place and I said, hey, I need this, this, and this. Where's my guy? Oh, he retired. What? So I went to the guy who runs the place and I said, you're a doctor, just sign this stuff. This is what I need, what I want. He said, fine. And I said, you got to find me somebody who I can work with. And they kept giving me these nurse practitioners who, I went into this place just for these tests, and instead of getting the test that I said I wanted, I can't write the prescription, but the head guy did. They said, oh, you're in here for open heart surgery. I said, what? No. They said, did you do this test? And I go, and that's the test I wanted. Did you do this? I said, how can you say I need, if you haven't done all these tests? Because that's what I wanted to see if I did need open heart surgery, right? And so they were like, well, we're still, you have the little bend and the universal product code says, and I said, no, if you go dig into, you'll find where somebody hit the wrong hashtag on the computer. And anyway, so I said, fine, you want to play it this way? I am staying in this bed. You put me in this room, it's got a great view. You just gave me lunch, and now you gave me a meal, and you now want to put me under it. I said, no more. I'm staying here for the rest of winter. I got a TV. It's warm. They're giving me free, right? And all of the people who had anything knowing what they're doing were like at the door watching while the bureaucrat and this doctor and that doctor were like losing their mind because I said no. I wouldn't sign it, because they're going to make $300 grand. Whether I live or die, they're going to make $300 grand. And I said, fuck you. I'm saying, we're going to get the police. Good. Bring the police, because once you bring them in, I'm going to say that you sexually abused me. And then you'll get arrested. And then you'll have to go to court for the next 6 years. How about that? And they were like, oh, they ran away. So the one technician came over and she goes, you know why you were, and all those people who knew what was going on were like this, And they come in and they actually went into the code and saw where the mistake was made. So they gave me this, and so I just met my new doctor, and he's on the board. So it took me 2 months to go through all. Now, if I was some little old lady who didn't know anything, I'd be dead.
No, I went to parochial school, kindergarten. And in high school, I had the Marist brothers.
I know who those guys are.
Straight.
Yes.
And they just used to say, if you want this, you have to play the game.
Right.
You get this.
Yes,
and women,
yes.
And women aren't just contraceptives.
Right. and that is true. So what happened to me? So my mom, she went to see 3 popes by herself. And she got a private thing with 3 different popes.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Right. That's the kind of juice my mom had, right? And so I went to this super duper place. Well, I went to this Catholic school, and I had really good private teachers before I went to first grade. So I went to first grade. My parents were kind of transferred, so they just stuck me there, right? And it was during the 50s when they were having get under your desk drills, right? My dad's a bird colonel.
I was there.
At 6, I saw an above ground nuclear test in the Navajo test site, right?
Yeah.
So I had a different worldview, right?
Were you out in the open for that?
Yeah. My dad had a lead blanket over me. I was wearing welder's goggles, and we were facing away, and all the scientists and generals were out.
In the ditch.
No, we were 20 miles away,
Oh, yeah.
but we were at the blockhouse, and we were in the whatchamacallit, in the parking lot, right? And 20 miles away.
What do you think of that?
So, boom, and I got these welder's glasses, and I'm not facing the blast. And that flash, before anything, I saw all of our shadows etched on the,
X-ray. So X-ray.
not only no, I saw other frequencies etching our presence on the concrete wall. And it's just like the cavemen who drew on the cave wall. It was like that, right? And so I see that, and then my father and this other general grabbed me so I don't fly away, because then the blast wave hit us, and it was all dusty and everything. And then they turned me around, and they lifted the lead thing up, and the mushroom cloud was already there. And my father said, "Put your hand in front of your face." And I could see the bones in my hand, but the stuff in that, it was like different dimensions, creatures, and all kinds of wacko stuff was going on there. And then they took me in for ice cream, and then the intelligence people, debriefed me, because that's why my father put me there. But by that time, they kind of saw that I looked at things in a different way. And that's why I was there.
Did they tell you that someday the leader of America would go from ice cream store to ice cream store? That's all he needs.
Yes.
You want to calm him down?
Yes. Yeah, give him, yes. So it's, and every president, like I said, I've met a lot of politicians, because between my mom and my dad, they had these amazing cocktail parties, right? I was 7 years younger than my closest, the other six, right? So they were all teenagers when I popped out. And I would wear the nice little suit my father put me in. I would just be there and watch all these people. I talked to Werner von Braun twice. He used to put us on the moon.
Oh, yeah.
And he was drunk.
Inside.
Yeah.
I just saw something yesterday about him.
And he was drunk out of
And
his...
he did the ground.
Yes, space station.
Yeah.
Right. But he was like off in the corner, drunk out of his mind, and everyone was ignoring. And I was sitting next to him, and he was going, "Well, and he was going through the different rights and the different periods of where humanity's going through. He goes, "But first it was this, and then that, and then bomb, and then the First World War, and the Second World War, and then Korea, and Vietnam." And he was describing what all of it was. And he goes, and then we're going to have the bad state like Iraq and Iran and all that. And then we're going to have terrorists. And the last thing that we'll have to fight is the aliens. But they will be genetically engineered by us, meaning the Nazis, and it's all a movie. And that's what he's saying. It's all a movie. And Spielberg has been making movie after movie after movie about exactly what he was saying.
Where do you think he got it? From sitting next to him in his drunk
No, by getting the powers, that hidden hand, powers that be, have written all his scripts.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a good movie. He worked for Harvey Kleiman, the guy who did the Harvey Cartel, the guy who did the B movies in the 50s. All of those really good movie guys, worked for Cartel.
Is that,
He did all the
Blazing Saddles?
No, that was by the Jewish boy Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
And Mel Brooks is from all those Jewish boys are a different school of thought. Like what's his name? Who did Annie Hall? But Mel Brooks is the best of the best of the best. He is just Blazing Saddles did more for racial harmony than anything else.
And he usually is movie too. Somewhere.
He's someone. He plays some
Little Chinese guy.
or whatever, right? And he usually plays the sycophant, criminal, the snidely whip. Yes,
Yeah, I think we saw the same movie.
Yes. He plays, and in all the movies he plays that. And so, you know who Stan Lee is, right?
Who?
Stan Lee. Marvel.
Stan Lee?
Yes, Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Right. When you were a kid, did you read like Captain America, X-Men?
No, but I know the son of the guy that did the artwork for Man Magazine.
Okay,
Max
Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah.
He has the original Max Martin.
but that's a different. But Stan Lee was in places where he saw all the hidden hand and everything going. And all those comics, like go on YouTube or go watch the Captain America movies. It's exactly what's going on now. Everything about World War II and from World War II today, Hail Hydra, it's like straight up exactly what's happening. You know, showing how all the politicians are owned and controlled and blackmailed. And that guy who allegedly got offed in the prison in New York, you know, Jeffrey, what's his name?
Oh, the child.
Yeah. He had, you know, Lolita Express, and everybody and his brother went there. And that's no. They faked his death.
They what?
They faked his death.
Oh.
Because when I was
For a couple of days.
no, he was of a certain character.
He had a service.
Right. And so they unplugged him from where he was and put him someplace else.
That
Right?
makes sense.
Because killing someone leaves too many threats. You know, because the guy who kills them and the this and the that. I mean, Kennedy is a good example. They had to kill thousands of people to cover every thread, and they still haven't covered every thread. It's just enough. I mean, one of the threads, building, what happened to the World Trade Center, there were so many different other reasons. Meaning, the New York Federal Reserve had all its gold under there. It was all taken away. I mean, that, you know, 9/11 was the biggest gold heist ever known. And the other thing was Building 7 that didn't even get hit by a plane or anything came down. It had all of the threads.
Gold.
No. The gold was underneath the World Trade.
It was.
Yes. Not so much those two buildings, but the two buildings that, you know, there was a footprint of lots of other buildings. So, and the PATH train, every train in New York went under that. And so the Federal Reserve is right there up about where
So you think it was an inside job?
beyond inside.
It was all the rich people getting all the rich.
And well, not only that, well, look, after that, the equity between the middle class and the rich is like, you know, it was here, and just in less than 20 years, it's this. It was just part, meaning they had to speed up what was coming, right? And so that was, because the Patriot Act, we don't have a constitution anymore. We live in martial law right now, right? And like I said, that thing is watching and listening to everything we say. And you probably work, you know, you're just here to yeah, he's right on time. Yeah, he's doing great. And the bottom line is,
Well, I like to disappear, but it's pretty impossible today.
but the thing is, all of this is an illusion. And the only thing that really exists is love, right? So if you put that unconditional love of God and that unconditional forgiveness and Jesus in your consciousness, they can't touch you.
You may become invisible.
Not just they can't touch you. You can still, you're still in your avatar. You're still in the meat puppet, but they can't touch you.
That sounds good. I like that.
Right.
You know, I've told my girlfriend for a long time, if man's been there, beware.
Yeah.
She can't grasp it.
Right.
Cannot grasp it.
But see, it's not just man. It's the meat puppet. If the meat puppet is there, beware.
The meat puppy?
Yeah, meat puppet.
Oh.
You know, strings. You know, that's everybody. With these,
You can't trust the, even with history books say, you can't trust it.
right. That's one of the reasons why I spent 30 years being an itinerant scholar, because I didn't just read the textbook. I went to the hidden library where, you know, the information really was. Because they wanted my little cheeky monkey motif, and then they wanted me to help them do whatever that, you know, build a protocol. I'm very good at making protocols. And the other thing, I don't wear my ego on my sleeve. Right? I'm just me, right? So I do all this because I enjoy it. As I do it, I help as many people, and I try to build in a positive motif in this icky stuff that they're doing. So because I'm coming from this place of unconditional love and forgiveness, and I'm building that into these protocols. And
Yeah.
and the guys who are really, way above that little ball over there, they're going, well, we need that. Because otherwise we're going to chew ourselves up. You look at every empire, it's eating itself. Blake said everything collapses.
Well, it's very interesting. I believe I was born with some of this information.
Yeah.
And you can't just tell it to everybody.
No, I don't tell it. So let's see your palm. The hand you're right. Put it up like that. So you are honest as it. You can't lie with crap. You think with your heart and feel with your head. So when people say squat, you're a scumbag, blah, blah, you kind of go, why'd that moron say that? You don't go,
Nobody says that.
well, but if they did, you wouldn't go, ooh, you would just
Wouldn't
go,
bother me at all.
right, exactly. And conversely, when you're thinking about how to fix your carburetor, you're not reading the chitlins. You're like going, oh, it doesn't sound quite right. Put it back up here. A lot of deja vu. The one thing you do have beyond passive aggressive. You're in the cheeky monkey motif, meaning you're past being angry at people. You just it's called Freudenschein, meaning some jerk does something, you don't have to respond to it. You just kind of do this. That's enough that moron will get up out of the chair and fall on his head. And that's enough, So let's see this side of your hand. Perfect. So you have a lot of, you're a smart guy, but what you really do, like you said, you were born with this. You have billions of these little brains in your gut. And when people talk about gut reaction, you have amazing gut reaction. You kind of know what's going to happen when it happens. You respond. You listen to it. You don't go, oh, I'm crazy, or oh, that's make believe. No, you kind of go along with that. The other thing you have is you have a strength of empathy, meaning you are able to put yourself in the other guy's shoes. Most of these people, these puppets out here, can't do that. You can't. Of any of the things you got going, that's the one thing that is your saving grace.
It helps.
Yes, it helps.
But when I bought this $19 Nokia phone
Right,
with track phone,
right,
because that serves my purpose.
right.
The first month, they told me I could get a free phone. Well, I was too late.
You mean a free smartphone?
No, $20.
All right.
So finally, I bought the phone, and all they wanted was information from me.
Yeah.
I said no. I said I bought this phone to make an emergency call.
Right.
I don't care about
Anything.
all the other stuff that it can do,
Right.
and you don't need to know anything else about it.
And as long as you carry it,
You
you're
don't
going to.
need to know the last 4 numbers of my credit card.
Right. And that's why they basically turned it on, because they're going to find all that shit out anyway.
Oh, I did. I got it on,
Right.
but they don't tell me how much time I have left. So you have to dial 611, 611,
Right.
and then it immediately sends me
A text message.
reply, a text message that says, your phone number is this, and blah, 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 you have this amount of time, point, and I can't find where point goes.
But it doesn't matter. That's the real thing. And interiorly, you understand that. So it doesn't really bother me. I like in 1980, right? I'm at Cornell, and I'm doing, and I got there because I had a friend of mine that I worked at the UN with, and she got this great job where she is in charge of telling all the smart people, their budgets and their this, and they want a grant to do this. She's the person who's got the purse string. She got a lot of power, so she can relay those guys, hey, I have this friend here who's going to start working for you, and they don't say squat, right? And they show up, and that guy's, and she's a smart girl, so she doesn't give me to some moron. Give me to some guy who's doing something interesting. He's interesting enough to not judge me by the cover, but we start, I start doing stuff for him. So for 3 years, he kept giving me stuff that, hey, this is fun. So one day, because of, what's his name, Ronald Reagan and Star Wars, they had this building called the Map Building. It was like 30 stories high. It looked like the monolith of 2001, had no windows on it. And it was built in the place where the airplane said, don't build anything here, right? This is like, and they did it for that reason, right? And so my boss says, you're going to go to the Math Center. And he goes, and here's your ID. And there was nothing on it except this little square that had all kinds of squiggles. You know that UR code I have now that is a little square with all those squiggles in it, right? Well, this is 25 years before they created it, and I'm saying, oh, it's a brand new thing. And so it has all, and the guy said, put that around your neck when you're walking up to the building. Make sure that sign is hanging out. Don't ever take it off. When you get within 75 feet, don't wear a coat. Let them see it.
You'll be eliminated.
Right. And I went through the door, and the door is black, just like the whole building, and it opens up, right? And so I'm a cheeky monkey. I kind of, turn it around and stick it in my shirt. And I get up and bong into the thing, and the guy, I hear the voice, we know you have your call, just turn it around. So I'm turning it around, and the door is open. I'm going there, and all these guys with machine guns pointed right at me.
Well, I'm glad to know there's some decent, what do you want to call it?
Security.
Security.
Yes, they got it down. So anyway, I go there, and this person comes in a nice suit, pretty girl. She goes, come with me. She knows my name. She walks me to this place, like security center. They, I'm in there, and things turn different colors. And then she escorts me to an elevator. Door opens, and there's a guy in a uniform with a machine gun. And we get in the elevator, and there are no buttons. And there isn't a thing saying what floor it is. It just goes zoom. Then the wall, there isn't even doors. The wall just kind of disappears. And he walks me to a room. And again, it's this hallway. It's just all stainless steel. You turn, it opens up. I go in, and it's, a table with a tube in it where they would like zip tie my wrist if they wanted to. And there's a bunch of those from every angle. And I'm just like, there's no windows. And he goes, and the seat is relatively comfortable. I sit down at it. And no door, just poof. It's now I'm in a place where where's the door? And then I'm sitting there, and I'm going, it'd be nice if they at least had coffee machine. And then all of a sudden, bing, and this lady, like grandma, comes in with a trolley. She like coffee or tea, light or dark. And then she had all kinds of nice little cookies and cakes and little sandwiches. And she goes, take what you, and I took a plate. I just like filled the whole friggin' table with food, not knowing how long I would be there. So I just started chewing away on it. And these guys come in. One guy, really, he looks like Santa Claus. Every hair in place, really like a $5,000 suit. His shoes probably cost $20,000. And the guy with him, his security guy, had a briefcase that was like connected to his wrist. And there's nice chairs brought in for. I get up. I'm getting a really nice chair. The other guy gets the chair I was sitting in. It looks like his wrists are going on that metal clip soon. Anyway, so we start talking very casually, and he goes, "Everything to your satisfaction?" "Oh yeah, thanks." And so he goes, "So here's why you're here." And he goes, and the guy puts the briefcase on there. He goes, "Take your thumb and put
Look
it."
at me. Look at this.
Yes.
What's this?
Yeah. So I said you're one of them.
I don't even know.
Yes. No, you know. And so I put my thumb on this little square, and the clicks go open. He pulls it out, and this is what is in there in foam, without any buttons. It looks just like this, 1988. Right? And he goes, "Pick that up, play with it." He goes, "What is it?" I said, "It's miniaturization of the keyhole spy satellite. It's going to be used in the next 20 years as this is going to be money. All financial, everything. You won't have any more banks. You won't have a driver's license. This will be it. Everything you do will be on this. and it will have every kind of sensor to know exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling, da 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 da. And the other guy who had it in his briefcase didn't even know what it was, but looked like he had to get sick. And so the door opened and they took him away, and then the old guy looked like Santa Claus in a $20,000 suit. We talked some more, and he smiled and said,
You're the one.
"Well, not I'm the one, but you met and passed all expectations." you know. And then I went back to my boss, and he said, "That was great. I knew you'd do good." And they gave me a raise. I said, "Don't I get a raise?" He goes, "Well, maybe later." But so then I got to see some other really
Really, there's more.
way more.
Because you would appear to know in depth more than I do, or I could choose to think I've forgotten.
Right, exactly.
I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't spook me or scare me. I go, okay, yeah, I can understand it.
So it's one or the other. Meaning either
I know. I wanted to ask you, what is in the South Pole? Is there an alien civilization in the South Pole?
us. We're the alien civilization.
When the two boats met for the first time?
No. It's that thing has been there for a million years, right? It showed up.
It's underground.
Oh yeah, it's under. The South Pole is the largest land on the planet, right? And it showed up when our moon. So did you see Star Wars, the movie Star Wars?
I think so.
Right. So
many of them have the same name.
right. So the first one, they're leaving Tatooine and they're trying to get to this other planet, and they're going along and they go through a bunch of crap. They come out of hyperspace and boom, and where's the planet that's supposed to be there? And they go through all this junk, and they see this little thing over there. That must be a moon. So we must be in the wrong quadrant. Let's go see. And they go there, and it's the Death Planet, right? It's a spaceship the size of the moon. Our moon is that. It's a spaceship. It's not our moon, right? Because it stays. All the other moons and all the other, and Jupiter and Saturn, all those, they all have moons. And they're all zipping around doing all. Ours is the only moon that stays in the same place and never turns around. We get to only see one side of it all through history. And it stays in the same freaking place. It doesn't move around. All the other ones move around, not ours. So something's keeping it, right? And they say, it's because the oceans and the tides and the blah, blah, blah. No. If you know anything about math, you know this. So that was shown up there at least 1 million years ago, and that's when the Anunnaki showed up, and and what happened is our solar system is something, and so Joseph Campbell was one of my teachers. You should read his book, The Myth of the Hero. It really tells our story. And so,
The Myth of the Hero?
Right. His greatest book. Just Google Joseph Campbell's greatest book, right? So George Lucas sat at the foot of Joseph Campbell for a year and just took notes of this guy telling stories. And that's Star Wars. So everything you saw in that movie is what our solar system was. And there was a planet within our structure that there was a war. And that planet got pulverized. And that's what the Orc belt is, where all the asteroids are. It's the junk of that planet.
What's the planet
that's neighborhood?
The one that,
it's the farthest out, and it doesn't have the kind of centrifugal. It does a big long arc.
And they're afraid it's going to hit us.
Well, it won't hit us. It just comes near, and every time it does, because it's like 10 times our size, and it can be over where Mars is, and that's where the floods came from. Every time that sucker comes through, it messes us up.
What was the name?
Neighborhood. Or Planet X, Neighborhood. It's got a lot of names. But if you put in Planet X, and it's this big elliptical, every 60,000 years it comes by. It's about somewhere between 300 and 1,000 years from really. It's already affecting us. That's why things are really weird.
Well, they said that they were showing it for a while. They were catching it, or multiple images of it.
Well, what it is So a lot of people, guys like me who read the ancient books and are better mathematicians and physicists and blah, blah, blah. I know a lot about a lot of stuff. But anyway, they have theorized Stitian. He's a astronomer. And he's a lot of things, but he's put forth this theory of we are the spacemen, right? And that neighborhood comes around, and he has sifted through all the history, and he shows here what. Right? And right now, so we're going on about global warming, right? It has more to do with this than the exhaust pipe, right? Because they don't really care, oh, we got to burn coal now, no problem, And so, but they use the motif of global warming as the excuse so nobody worries. Oh, it's global. You mean we just have to have electric cars and everything goes back to normal, right? So no, this planet is still so far away we can't really see it, but it has an effect.
Really?
And so
With the mass.
So when it's coming, and so it's still way over there, and you can't. And the light of the sun doesn't get out there enough to illuminate it. But it has other things going on in it that it affects like
Does it inhabit it?
who knows? It may be, couldn't be. Who knows?
Did you hear that a chunk of the sun fell off?
Yes, it's called a
A problem.
No. Well, it had its effect. CMG, coronal, meaning the surface of the sun is a corona. Coronal mass ejection, right? And it was the size of capital, size of like Massachusetts, right? Or maybe half the size of the moon.
Where did it go?
Well, it was energy, not so much. That was plasma, not
Phones and reception have been good for a long
sense.
time.
Yes, right. And because that thing and some other things are affecting the sun. I mean, we detonated a hydrogen bomb in the sun in the 50s just to see what would happen in the sun.
Sounds stupid.
Because we detonated, we were worrying about ICBMs, and we decided, we'll have the Nike Zeus missile that will shoot up into space, and when those things are coming this way, we'll detonate a hydrogen bomb in space, and it'll just whack everything, right? And when we did that, it fried whatever little transistors that were in existence in the late 50s and early 60s when they did this experiment. But what it did, it rang the sun like a bell. Put a vibration into it, and the sun hasn't been the same since. And they said, "Well, we'll balance it out. We'll blow another one over here," and that was like made it. That's when they realized, we do this, we can make these dimensional holes, and we can go to other dimensions and we can go hundreds, millions of light
holes?
Yeah, through the sun.
Through the sun?
Through the sun.
Well, I'd like to see the tiles they put on that.
Well, what they do is they just put it in another dimension, so that the heat don't matter. That heat don't matter, boss. So all this stuff we've had. So we have enough technology to give everything everybody would ever need. Feed everyone, house everyone.
The rich don't care.
But they don't, because they want control. And the only way they control is keep the masses in a mush. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what it is. And basically, the majority of the folk, like who become the politicians and all those morons, they know that, so they went to prep school, they did this, did that. They weren't, if they left up to their own devices, they would get nowhere, right? But if you sign on to be a chump for these morons, sure. And so they don't care. It gets rid of their empathy. Why you wouldn't sign up, or I would. We have this empathy that is beyond just kind of being sorry for somebody.
101. I have a thing where I say, like, I feel like I walk into a party and I feel like I'm a magnet and everybody else is a magnet. And some are repelled and some are attracted.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Well, it is what it
But I
is.
choose
It is what it
people
is.
that are attractive.
Right.
Am I attractive?
Right.
So I like that.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
But most people have no idea about it, so that's why they're so screwed up.
well, they're picking their own thing.
Right. Right.
But I say, I don't know that I was ever wrong. That's because I never stayed with anyone that I didn't think was the right person. So I can't say I ever failed.
Well, see, the real problem is there is no wrong or right because it's a subjective thing. You know, one man's wrong is another man's right.
I call it a hassle.
Right.
Wrong woman.
Right. 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 And you know, my motif is I'm just me, right? And so there are a lot of people who are attracted to me, other people who are interested in me. There's a small group of people, you know, you intimidate me. You know, me, I intimidate you? Come on. I'm an old guy with a beard and, you know, not going to, you know, I can barely breathe, can't walk, you know. How can I be an intimidator? Because their spirit is so lacking. When they see a guy who's, you know, they couldn't live like me, like where I live. All these rich people are moving in, and they just buy more stuff on credit. You know, they buy a new car, a new truck, they buy a tank, they buy this, they buy that. They buy a ton of guns. This guy bought all these guns. He couldn't even shoot them. He said, "You know anything about guns?" I said, "Yes." So he bought himself an AR, and he had no idea. It came kind. You had to kind of put it together, not like like you had to be a gunsmith. You had to snap this and that. He didn't even know what a clip was or how it fit in, and so it's like those kids who fix your computer and you're not paying enough attention to know what they did. I just went blah blah blah, and then I'm blind, and I said, "Okay, see way over there. See that there's a can over in the forest, right? And that's a safe place. There's no houses around it. It's at the bottom of the hill. If you're going to shoot anything, shoot there, right?" And so, and it was, you know, so I went over there and I bang, bang, bang. I hit the can every time. And then I took it apart, put it back in the box, and it was like, yeah, exactly. I said, because you know nothing about it, and if I left it, you'd probably shoot your kid, right? Or your kid would shoot you. So no, go take a gun course, and he hasn't yet. So he bought himself a Glock because he came ready to shoot. Right? So I said, listen, if you have a gun, statistically, you know, 30-something thousand people die of guns in America, give or take, right? 95% of those people were either ate their gun or the gun was taken away from them when they were like threatening somebody, and in the hustle they got shot, or it was just taken away from them and they were shot. You know, there isn't anyone that really fits the category of why they say you have a gun.
My grandfather was a hood, and he said, more people get shot by empty guns than you believe.
Yes, exactly.
And throughout my life, I've heard that.
Yeah.
You know, the gun was empty.
Right.
They were cleaning the guns around the table, drinking beer, and
Bang.
bang.
Larry's dead.
Yeah.
And everyone hated Larry, so, so it's okay. Not a problem. We don't even have to call the police, you know. No one liked Larry.
So see that? Those are the days that I like too.
Well, you know, I grew up in New York, but I lived everywhere in the world. But in the 1970s, when I was a young artist, you know, scholar, it was great. No one had money, but if you had, you know, the gumption, you could do anything. You know, and that's where, you know, I hung around with all these people expecting me to do X, Y, and Z, you know, guys behind that globe over there. And so I always had access to kind of what I wanted to do, right? Because they kind of wanted me to do X, Y, and Z, right? So I was doing that, and I got in all these universities, and I didn't have to matriculate. I just went to the best guy. When I was at Cornell, I went to the, you know, I was given to the best guy. When I was at, what's the name of that really fancy school in D.C.?
I don't know.
It was where Joseph Campbell was. And I just went to his lecture. I said, wow. And then I read all his books like in a week. And then I went to another one of his lectures, and then I went to a class. And he said, so we're not going to have tests or quiz or anything, but we're studying this every Friday. I want you just to write a page of what you think about this, right? And so, all these kids did that, and I gave them 7 pages of a really, and at the next class, he said, after the class was over, you over there, you stay there. I want to talk to you. Came up and said, who the frat are you? What are you doing here? I said, well, I went to one of your lectures with a friend of mine, and I knew who you were, but I never heard you speak. And then I read all your books in a week. He said, you read all my books in a week? I said, yeah, well, I'm a fast read. And then he goes, you're more than that, because you took all the books I wrote and put it in 7 pages, an amazing, juxtaposition to the question I asked. And it's like, and he goes,
combined his work,
yes,
condensed
in
it.
7 pages to the question he asked. And he goes, you can stay here. And he goes, but these guys are paying, so don't show off. You don't even ask a question or answer a question.
I'll stay there.
Just stay, take notes, and then after class, we'll go have a cup of coffee and talk. Which is a much better way to learn from the master than to be a schlemiel in the class. So I
So
had
I asked to consider what the group will hear.
right. So, and I did exactly what he said, and everyone I worked for part of, I've done just that. I never had to. I'm smart, because people really like the guy with the $10,000 suit who looked like Santa Claus. I mean, that's why he's there. They knew that I was more than smart.
Very interesting. By the way, what's your name?
That's why I dug around for this.
I mean, not that it matters, but
Owl.
that's your name?
Yep. That's my curriculum vitae in a business card. And I have an address for a YouTube channel. And I got about 2,000 shows of all kinds of stories.
With Al Stanford? Is it an acronym?
No. What it was my grandma brought me up, and she was from Sicily, from one of the islands, and from that language, there was a term called Wuzia, which meant little devil, right? So, because I always get into stuff. So that's what she used to call me. And then when I became an anthropologist, I've been sent to be with people where I was the first white guy those people saw.
Yeah.
And each of them, and like one was in Brazil, one was in Australia, one was